What you see in the background of this video is an illustration of the needs pyramid that Abraham Maslow used. There has been much debate in the scholarly world concerning this theory of Abraham Maslow, but it's not really that much a theory, it's more how you present it. Now, you can summarize all of this in 3 needs. And I found this Google image where they indeed categorize it all in 3 needs. Because Abraham Maslow used 5 needs, but it really comes down to 3. 3 core needs of the human being. I made a video about the 3 core needs of the human being before. Here they call them with different labels, but it comes down to 3 needs. We, human beings, we have 3 core needs that need to be met for us to be healthy and well-functioning human beings. The first thing is safety, or you can call it basic needs. This has to do with the body, and has to do with the environment. That's obvious. The second need, I say the second need because if this one's not met, you can't be healthy, straight up. If your body is endangered, sorry, your other needs cannot be met. Even if they're met, you're still not whole, okay? So, safety. Then you have security. Because remember, you are a vulnerable creature as a human being. And besides being vulnerable, you're also in a mortal body at the moment. So you need other human beings to take care of the primary needs. You need to get along with other human beings for your primary need to be satisfied. So that's why belonging and being accepted by others is important. Why? Because if you're not accepted by others, that means you can't get along with other human beings, and that means your primary needs cannot be met and you die. Or even if you remain alive, you'll be stressed out, bitter, or, well, I'm saying you won't be in a very good state. So security is the economy. So human beings need to have the safety of their biology, and that can be only secured if there is a well-functioning economy. So this is the security part. Now they've divided this in which they put esteem needs and self-actualization in separate categories, but actually these two belong together. But I'm not going to debate this here with you. So you know that belonging is really the need for security. And when security has been met, then the need for significance comes. The need for significance is not really that much different from the need for security. Because the reason you belong to a group is because you contribute to that group. So you're relevant in that group. And because you're relevant, you're significant. Because even if you have safety and security, because you belong to a group, if you belong to a group, but you're not acknowledged in the group, you're not praised in the group, you're not valued in the group, you're still part of the group, your basic needs are taken care of, or better said, your safety is guaranteed. You also have security because you're part of an economy. But if people don't like you or people don't interact with you, your need for significance is hindered. So you have 3 needs: safety, security, and significance. Those are the 3 needs of the human being. Now, what this has to do with energetic abilities? Realize that every behavior of the human being, yes, every behavior of the human being, except behaviors that are done by evil spirits through a human body, when someone is completely possessed, but that's not a human being acting, so we leave that behind. Every behavior and every attitude of the human being is motivated by these 3 core needs over here: safety, security, and significance. Always keep this in mind. So for example, Let's say you're in a bus and most of the seats are empty. And an individual enters in. Let's say it's an older man, an elderly man, and he sits next beside you. And you think, hold on a minute, there were seats close to the exit. You could have sat down over there. It would have been much easier. But he decided to sit next to you. Why did he do that? Because of the need for security. Let's say that in that neighborhood, it often happened that elderly people were robbed. Because unfortunately, there are low-life criminals that do such stuff, robbing the elderly. And let's say that this man also doesn't have good relationships with his children. So anytime he's in public, he wants to be secure. So his need for security motivated him to sit next to you. And it also has to do with the need for safety, because just in case a robber would enter the bus or the public transportation, he, an elderly man, will sit sitting next to you, a younger individual. So in this case, it's the need for security and also to some extent the need for safety that moved him to sit next to you. Another example, let's say you have a teenage girl in her late teens who wears sexually provoking clothes. What's going on? She wants significance. She wants to matter. But at the same time, even though she's wearing sexually provoking clothes, she doesn't accept the sexual attention of every man that comes by. She's very selective. For example, it can be that you have a Chinese guy over there, and she is fond of the guy, but she remembers that she is from, let me say, a Puerto Rican background. She's not fully Puerto Rican, so Hispanic, but she has a white/Hispanic background, and she knows very well that if she would come home with a Chinese guy, her parents would be shocked and her relatives will not be able to cope with it. She has a need for security. Women have a deep need for security. So she has the need to feel significant. She wants exclusive sexual attention of a man, or maybe not exclusive, but she wants sexual attention of a man to feel significant. But at the same time, this need for significance cannot conflict with the need for security, because without security, significance doesn't really matter, because you need to have security for the significance to operate in. So she's wearing sexually provoking clothes, and she loves getting attention from that Chinese guy, but she will not go further with it. Why? Because her need for security pushes her to look for a white guy or an Hispanic guy, but prefers a white guy because in her subconscious she knows that in this world where white supremacy is a role in institutions, having a white guy brings extra esteem to you. So based on her natural core needs and how she has been socialized, her need for security and significance pushes her to seek for a white boyfriend. That is how you ought to look at human behavior. So, again, what does this has to do with energetic abilities? Understand that anytime anything appears to be a threat to one of these three core needs, the human being becomes anxious. Unless the human being is born again and renewed in their mind, because then anxiety is worked out of their mind. But in general, unfortunately, also believers who are not renewed in their mind. Believers should be renewed in their mind, but there are believers who are not. Unbelievers can't be renewed in their mind because they're not able to do that. Unfortunately, it often happens that even believers get shocked when something appears to threaten one of these three core needs. For example, the need for safety. In the current state, in the Western world, many people need to rent a place to stay. So to rent a place, you need cash, you need money. Whether they get money from a job or from other activities, which are often illegal. So they need to have an income in order to pay the rent, so they can have a place to lay their head. And they need that income to purchase food also. But in order to get the money to secure their primary need, which is safety, they need to have security. So they need to have a constant flow of cash. And where do they get that? By being involved with other people. So they need to be secured. So let's say now you're at the job and there's this colleague that can't stand you. Now, your mind notices immediately, okay, someone doesn't like me at the job. If this goes further and more people agree with that individual, I may lose this job. And if that happens, my primary need is violated and I'm in danger. So a worldly individual who's not a pagan will become anxious, and because they're now anxious, they can't think straight, so they'll do desperate things to preserve their job. If it's a pagan, the pagan would go to some paranormal deity to get relief from the situation. If it's a believer renewed in his or her mind, it wouldn't even happen, but even if it happens, the believer is completely secured, knowing that everything works out for their good, and this motivates the believer to be active in a constructive manner. Energetic abilities. When you use energetic abilities, others who are not renewed in their mind will likely see you as a threat. Because think about it. Most human beings aren't even aware they have energetic abilities. Even if they are aware of it, they can't use them in a constructive way because they're ignorant. They haven't been taught well. And here's the thing, most of them aren't even born again, so they don't have the backup of the Holy Spirit. So the only backup they can get is from evil spirits. So most people are not capable of using their spirit abilities in a constructive, beneficial manner. So most of them are discouraged from even thinking about it. So most people operate only in their physical strength and their mental strength. If they would go further with their mental strength, they would come into their energetic or spirit abilities, but most people remain in the mental and physical realm. In that realm, they're very, very fragile and vulnerable. So they absolutely need to be accepted by other people, because any type of violence or action against them can damage them or can be fatal towards them. So those people operate in a fear-based construction in which their significance depends on their ability to contribute to the relief of the community. So people in such a state, they want others to be similar to them so they can have a sense of control, because this sense of control contributes to their core need for security. But let's say now you come by, and you, because you walk by faith, and because you use all your human abilities, both physical as well as spiritual, mental, emotional, because you use your full abilities as a human being, you're not that dependent on the approval of others. And because of that, you're not that restricted in your behavior. So when you behave, your needs are met, so you are free. They are in a cycle of frustration. That's why they need relief all the time. So if they who are in a cycle of frustration encounter you, whose needs are fulfilled, they don't encounter people whose needs are fulfilled that often. They're used to people being toxic. they're used to people being codependent. And now they encounter someone whose needs are fulfilled. That can be a scary thing, because their significance depends on others being dysfunctional and defect. That's how it goes in the world. Your significance is in relation to someone else's defect or dysfunction. But if they encounter now someone whose needs are fulfilled, so all the defects and dysfunctions are worked out of them, how are they going to relate to such an individual? Towards such an individual, they can't come with scams, they can't come with compensatory expectations, because individuals' needs are fulfilled. For example, someone that walks by faith, so they also use their spirit abilities in line with Christ. Even if they would lose their job, very quickly, there would be other provision for them. Even if people don't want to hang out with them, sooner or later, they'll find other people, or they will succeed without the assistance of those other people. In both cases, those who are still in darkness will feel threatened, because their safety and their security depends on them being able to have some kind of grip on one another, to keep each other in check. But if all your needs are fulfilled, they can't have a grip on you. And when they can't have a grip on you, you will be perceived as a threat to their significance. And look at this carefully. The need for safety is a primary. Without it, you're dysfunctional, absolutely. But because in the world's in a fallen state, people often don't get along, they only get along in line with society, which is a fear construct. The need for significance depends on them being trapped by this fear construct. So worldly people have a fear-based significance that they're clinging onto. But the problem with that is, you may already sense it, is that the human being is not designed to walk in fright. The human being is not designed to operate in fear. So the significance that the world offers you, or the significance that society provides you with, is fear-based. Therefore, it's toxic. But when everyone around has this toxic significance that they're clinging onto, which is an addiction, nobody senses how toxic it really is. Anyone that comes by, free from this toxicity, operates in a superior way. So when they encounter you operating in your energetic abilities and you become experienced in it, their need for significance, well, it wasn't really met as it should be. Well, let me explain. You have, I won't say secondary need, but you have part of your safety need is that you need food. Now, you can get food, but doesn't mean the food is healthy for you. You can get fast food all day long. You still have food, so your body remains functioning, but it's not that good. The same way, the significance that the world provides is worse than junk food, and it's worse than cocaine or any other type of hard drug. The significance the world offers you is an addiction that blinds you from seeing that you're dysfunctional and defective. And when this significance crumbles down, the human being becomes unpredictable in a negative way. You can be unpredictable in a positive way. That means when you're creative and you're always doing something good, or you always have a project going on, but you also can be unpredictable in a negative way, in the sense you're escalating. And once the human being escalates because their need for significance is completely violated, well, they turn to desperate means to get significance. And this will lead to criminal behavior, it will lead to stalking, it will lead to all types of violence, sometimes even suicide. So, just understand that people that are not renewed in their mind, they will likely perceive you operating in your energetic abilities as a threat. One more thing before I close this video. When you look at the fictional characters like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, or Iron Man or whatever, whether it's from the Marvel series or from other comic creators, when you look at all those cartoon heroes, what is it about them that stands out? One thing is they all use a cover in daily life. They all do. Because once people know what they're capable of, they are in danger. The second thing is the people only praise them for relief, for bringing relief from the self-destruction that the same people bring on themselves. So the population is self-destructive, and now those cartoon heroes come to relieve them from their self-destruction. The people are not delivered from self-destruction because they're still operating in darkness, but you have those who put up with the garbage, with the filth of their collective attitude. And because those cartoon heroes do this without complaining, at their own expense, the people praise them. So those cartoon heroes, when you look at them carefully, they are victims. They are victims that are portrayed in a quote-unquote polite manner to make it appear as if they are really loved by the people. Well, the exactly opposite is true. Now you have scapegoats that are openly violated and harmed. And then you have scapegoats where the violence is covered up and the victim is praised. So people are confused concerning what's going on. But that's the case with those cartoon heroes. They are victims of the community, but because the community praises them for relieving them, the scapegoats, or say the victims, are gaslighted into thinking that the community loves them, while the exact opposite is true. And remember, those cartoon heroes are designed by pagans. Pagans who see how the world really works. So this should be a warning to believers. If even pagans can see that if you walk more in your spirit abilities as a human being, that you'll likely become the victim of the collective, then why is it that there are believers out there who still think that if you're just kind and loving enough, that they'll be accepted and they'll get along? Now, believers can get along with individual unbelievers here and there, but we should never expect to get along with unbelievers as a whole. Even unbelievers as a whole often have issues getting along with one another. Pagans don't even want to try to get along with them because pagans see how dangerous those people can become once they have nothing left to lose, or when their need for significance is shattered. So why are believers seeking something that even Christ told us not to look for? I made this video to make you aware of how the human needs are, and so you can let me say this. I also made this video so you can examine better why people do certain things. Now, of course, you can't always be correct on why people do certain things. There may be hidden actors or hidden reasons that you're not aware of, but it all comes down to these three needs: safety, security, and significance. When you're dealing with narcissistic predators, you're dealing with people who are so off balance that their need for significance becomes the main thing for them. It's only when their own physical body is in instant danger that they consider their basic needs. Because remember, the human being needs other human beings to operate because we are community creatures. And because of that, we ought to be in harmony with one another. And there's a give and receive. Reciprocity, this is called. The narcissist or reprobate is someone who only concerns himself or herself with their need for significance. And of course, they need to pay attention to the need for safety. But for their safety and their security, they drain the whole community. Why? Because it's all about their own significance. It's all about their own will. It's all about their own relief. The moment the reprobate doesn't receive any supply from the community anymore, the moment there's no narcissistic supply anymore, the reprobate decomposes mentally and they collapse internally, and this internal collapse will make them dangerous to everyone around. That's why in the world they tolerate predators to have victims as long as they don't go way too far publicly. Because the world doesn't know how to actually deal in a constructive way with predators. They either let them go loose to harm whoever they want, or they placate them with tolerating some victimization from them. Believers are the ones with the power to shut down and overrule predators. But believers need to be wise as serpents. That's why I informed you about the human needs. And use this knowledge when you're examining the context of a situation. Always examine the context. Was it for now? Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.